I think I have a formula for beating procrastination. There is no one easy trick the doctors don't want you to know. I wish there was, but there are a few techniques combined that have basically made procrastination a thing of the past for me. Basically, there are 3 parts to my formula, and the first one is deciding what I'm gonna do ahead of time. But more than just writing a to-do list every morning, I think your planning has to be a lot more specific than that, but we're gonna get to that later. Second is time tracking, where every single minute of your day goes. I know it might seem like overkill, but I've been time tracking since around 2017, and I have found it so helpful. So hopefully in this video, I can convince you why it might be worth it. And finally, making tasks seem more fun and manageable even when they're actually super boring and overwhelming. I know that might sound impossible, but I do have a couple of techniques up my sleeve. I'm getting desperate for views. Okay, I think to begin with, it would be helpful to define some basic terms. My simple definition for planning is deciding what you're going to do ahead of time rather than making those decisions in the moment as you go about your day. So that consists of clarifying exactly what it is that you need to do and when you're going to do it. This is the first part of my formula because making decisions is hard and our capacity for decision making is limited. So if you can concentrate all of that difficult decision making into one session when your willpower and brain power are super high, then the less likely you are to make bad decisions, procrastination, about how you spend your time. It's the difference between going through my day and every hour asking myself, out of the 15 responsibilities that I'm trying to juggle right now, what should I work on next? Or going through my day having already made almost every decision, and then all I have to do is follow that plan that I made. So planning methods can range from very vague and general to extremely specific. So on this end, you might just write down a list of all your current ongoing projects. Then to get a little more specific, you write down all of the steps that go into each project. Then maybe you decide on which day you're gonna work on each task. And then maybe you get into time blocking and you block out different parts of your day for different kinds of work. And then at the very end of the spectrum, you would block out specific times of day for every little task that you have. What I do is I have these sticky notes on my desktop. I have like one for school, one for YouTube stuff, one for personal stuff. I write down my projects with all of their subtasks and when they're due. So nothing slips through the cracks. And then on Sunday, when I sit down to plan, I put everything onto my calendar. I decide when I'm gonna do everything. The benefits of this are that, again, you eliminate decision making. I make much better decisions on Sunday when I'm calm and peaceful rather than in the middle of the week when I'm at school and I'm stressed. It also minimizes overwhelm because I'm not thinking all week long, how am I gonna get everything done? Should I prioritize this or this? Is there enough time? Third, it helps you adapt your working style better. So personally, I don't like working on the same project for more than like 2 or 3 hours at a time, but I also know people who would love to work on just one project for the entire day. So whatever you prefer, if you plan your week ahead of time, you can actually make that happen. I like to schedule in little chunks across the week to work on the same big project. And if you're the opposite, you could set aside a whole day for working on a project. So if you are interested in this method, I would definitely recommend my weekly planning video where I talk all about time blocking. You don't have to time block your entire week in advance. You could just plan for like the first 3 days of the week and then plan more as you go. Also, time blocking is not only useful for making sure that I get all of my work done, but also that work doesn't take up all of my time. If I put on my calendar that this is the time that I should be done working and I've set aside that whole evening to relax, it motivates me to work faster and I can actually feel fully relaxed watching TV because this is what I planned for myself and I don't feel like maybe I should be doing something else instead. I want to quickly tell you about some stuff I learned recently that I didn't know about before that is actually kind of scary and I think you should know it too. Basically, you might have heard of people using VPNs. I use one because I live in Spain and sometimes I actually can't access certain websites. Like one time I needed to change something about a phone plan and I couldn't get into the website because my computer was not in the US. So that's one thing that NordVPN can do. It lets you connect to servers in so many countries all around the world, which also means that you can watch movies and TV shows on streaming services that are only available in specific countries. But what I didn't know is that a VPN protects you when you're using public Wi-Fi. I never worried about public Wi-Fi before, but basically one thing that hackers will do is they will set up Wi-Fis that are unprotected so that when you're using them, they can see all the information that you're sending on the internet, which is especially bad if you're putting in your credit card information or typing in your password. So a few weeks ago, I was in a makeup store. I needed CeraVe face wash and I couldn't connect to data, but I needed to check something online. So I was looking for Wi-Fi and I saw that there was Wi-Fi from a Burger King next door, but there were two, and both of them were called something like Burger King free Wi-Fi. And I was like, oh, so maybe one of them is a fake one trying to collect data from people. And this can happen in airports, cafes, any public place. So basically using public Wi-Fi without a VPN is like leaving your car unlocked, and NordVPN gives you that security and peace of mind. So I just used it when I traveled back to Spain. I was in the airport on a layover and I was actually doing some stuff for preparing my taxes. So I was definitely inputting some sensitive information and I used my VPN before connecting to the airport's free Wi-Fi. So as you can tell, NordVPN is the sponsor of today's video and they have so kindly provided the best deal that you can find on the internet. Using the link nordvpn.com/blissbean, you get a huge discount off a 2-year plan and also 4 months for free on top of that. It's risk-free, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. nordvpn.com/blissbean, or just click the link in the description. And I know you might be like, oh, I've never had my information stolen. It'll never happen to me. I used to think that too, but it happens to regular people like me and you just don't want to deal with the aftermath of having it happen to you. So just do your due diligence now and stay on the safe side. Even if you plan out every minute of your week, you still might not follow it because there isn't really any accountability to stick to this plan, and it's also hard to tell where your time is actually going, which is why I do something called time tracking. So I have this app, it's called Now Then Pro, but there are many different apps out there. So in this app, I have written out every kind of different activity that I do. So cooking, exercising, doing crosswords, doing homework. Every time I switch to doing something else, I tap that activity on the app, and at the end of the day, at the end of the week, I have these beautiful timelines and pie charts and graphs of how I actually spent my time. So I do like to get pretty specific because I like to compare, for example, how much time I'm spending on each of my different classes. But my friend, for example, when he tried out time tracking, he kept it simple and he had just 3 categories, which was working, socializing, and then just like leisure time alone. However you decide to do it, I honestly don't even think the specifics matter all that much because the simple act of tracking will make you so much more aware of how you're spending your time. It gives you constant accountability. So like if I decide to go sit down and watch some reels because I'm tired, that's fine, but I have to click on the social media activity, and then as I'm sitting there scrolling, I can see that time that I'm spending on this activity collecting. I really should make an updated version of my time tracking video because I only have this old one that I'm a bit self-conscious about sharing, but if you do want a deep dive into time tracking, I would recommend watching that video. For the last part of the formula, now you've planned out everything you need to do, you have some accountability for actually getting it done, your time management is solid, but we can still procrastinate because sometimes the task that we're procrastinating just sounds so dreadful and impossible that there's just no way to start it. So in this section of the video, I want to talk about looking at the task and figuring out why we're so resistant to it, rather than what I think a lot of like anti-procrastination advice says, which is to eliminate all the distractions around the task so that you have no choice but to do the task. That's all you have left. Personally, I don't think that like deleting Instagram or locking away your Nintendo Switch are gonna work on their own because we can always find other distractions. Like I will literally go on the App Store, I will scroll and see what new apps are out there. There's always something that you can do instead of the thing that you're avoiding. So these are a few ideas and techniques that have helped me. First of all the stuff I talked about in part 1 about breaking your project down into small steps and then separating that into chunks of work time. time. That really helps me because I think a lot of the times I would procrastinate because the task just felt like an insurmountable mountain. And so I would feel paralyzed. I couldn't even begin. Sometimes to start a project, your first step has to be to plug in your hard drive or open up a Google Doc, and you can check that off your to-do list. When I have a project for school that I really don't want to do, the solution kind of counterintuitively is to pour myself into the project and try to do the best work that I can. And that doesn't even really mean trying to shoot for a high grade. It just means letting go of that like, ugh, attitude. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. It's a slog. And just decide to do my best and have the best time that I can. So a lot of times this does mean I have to fake it till I make it, put on a smile and have some pep in my step as I'm doing the project, even though I have no pep left in me. But then like your energy will reflect off the people that you're working with, and they'll be more excited about the project, and then you'll genuinely be more excited about the project. In the end, I just think that if you are being really negative about something that you don't want to do throughout the entire process, you kind of have to suffer twice in a way. So why not try and have fun with it? Oh no. I also wanted to talk about the importance of recharging. So this is not sponsored, but this book was gifted to me. This is alllll's Feel Good Productivity. One of my favorite parts of this book was about the write-off principle, that basically it is okay to set aside a day or whatever period of time for accomplishing nothing. And I know this sounds so counterintuitive in a video about procrastination, like I'm telling you, no, it's okay, go ahead and do nothing. But one of my biggest blockers, and maybe you can relate, is that I get so annoyed at myself when I'm too tired to work. I think mentally tired is even harder for me to accept because I'm like, I'm not sleepy, I just can't bring myself to do any work, like I can't focus or think. And that only gets me into this cycle, this loop of procrastinating even more and more. Whereas when I consciously just take an evening to watch some TV and relax, I actually feel ready to get back into it the next day. The final thing that has helped me, and this is like the farthest thing from a quick and easy hack, is cognitive behavioral therapy. So although I don't usually procrastinate in my daily life, sometimes I do get into these really bad slumps where I don't want to do anything, and then even the dishes don't get washed. So I'm reading a book right now called Feeling Good by David Burns. The whole premise of the book is that your emotions and procrastination as well are basically caused by negative, distorted thoughts that you're having. So as an example, a situation that I often get into is that I just need to respond to some emails for YouTube. That's literally it. But I get into this whole spiral of negative thoughts, like I am failing as a YouTuber, I'm wasting this opportunity. So when I'm feeling like that, and I've practiced this a couple of times, but I really need to make it more regular and get better at it, I sit down with my journal, I try to pinpoint exactly what thoughts are going through my head and rewrite them. And usually that has an instant effect on me. It might not make me feel better completely, but it at least makes me feel better right away. I really recommend this book. It actually has a whole section on procrastination that really resonated with me, so maybe it'll help you as well. So now that we've covered this entire video, let's recap the formula that I've laid out. First of all, you need to plan your days and weeks in a detailed way. Second, you need to keep yourself accountable by figuring out where your time actually goes. And finally, work through what is blocking you from doing that task. Sometimes it means you need to rest, sometimes it means sitting down and writing out your thoughts, or just approaching the task in a more light and fun way. Again, this video is not supposed to be a quick hack, and I have not figured out this problem entirely for myself either. I feel like I've got my planning systems down, and most of the time I can avoid procrastination, but I still get into those do nothing slumps sometimes. So I'm curious if you would like to share what has been the most effective technique against procrastination for you. If you want to write that in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!